I've been using the iPhone X for a month now, so I think I'm ready to give you my thoughts in this full review. The first thing that I want to touch on is build quality. Apple doesn't disappoint in this department. It's a stainless steel band that's surrounded by glass, and it's almost a shame to put a case on it, but you're going to want to do that because if you break that glass back on the iPhone X, you're going to have to come out of pocket a pretty penny if you don't have Apple Care. Along the lines of build quality is the display on the iPhone X. It is a phenomenal experience. It's a welcomed addition because I was getting really sick and tired of all that unused space on the iPhone 6 series phones with those huge chins and foreheads, and I really enjoy consuming and using this device because of its edge-to-edge design. With the display, the notch comes into play. It doesn't bother me except for under a couple of conditions. When I'm navigating the operating system and stuff like that, I can see the utility of it if Apple would allow people to customize it. I wish Apple would shrink the icons in the ears so you could fit more content in there if you wanted to. So that just comes with the territory of allowing the user to customize that area because it is so limited. Now, the notch does bother me when I'm consuming media. For instance, when I'm watching a YouTube video and I try to pinch to zoom and all that type of stuff, it is a significant eyesore and it bothers me. It bothers me so much so that I opt to not consume content in full screen mode because it literally cuts out a notch of displayable information for whatever video or whatever media you're consuming at that time. With consuming media, the speakers on the iPhone X are just phenomenal. Take a listen. Now that's my attempt to kind of try to show you through video on how well the speakers perform, but you really can't put a gauge on it until you hear them for yourself in real life. That being said, they are legitimately some of the best speakers on a flagship device that I have had the experience of using. I think Apple did a fantastic job with the implementation of Face ID. I had a lot of questions during their demo of it, and I was really skeptical of the utilization of it, but come to find out it works fantastically. Being able to authenticate into my bank account, PayPal, certain applications, login pages in Safari, things like that just make my life easier. Now, with Face ID, I think Apple did us a disservice by kind of communicating to us that we could authenticate our faces with the device laying flat on a table. The lady sitting at the swimming pool and she's literally authenticating with the device laying flat on a surface. That is simply not the case. You can't do that. Even with disabling attention required of Face ID, you can't do that. You have to look directly at the sensor. In the past, with like the iPhone 7 Plus, I'd get a notification, I'd literally just touch ID and hop into that app. Now I have to grab the device or hover my face over the device. Since my transition over to iOS a little over a year ago, I'm still impressed by iMessage. It's just something that my wife and I and some of my family members really enjoy. It's just a better experience than SMS on Android. And I know there's alternative messaging apps on Android like Allo and all that type of stuff, but I'm just not interested in teaching my family how to use all that type of stuff. With iOS, they just have messaging and it works. And emoji. I haven't really used it. I think it's a gimmick, but it is a good demo of what the technology really has the capability or capacity of doing. It's fun to get an emoji for my son. It's something that really ties the human interaction together closer. Sounds cheesy, but it's true. Let's talk about swiping down from the top area of the iPhone X. The right ear has control panel, and the middle and left side have your horrendous kind of nightmarish experience of notifications. I think they could have done a better job in implementing a control panel to make it more consistent with what they experienced on previous versions of the hardware of the iPhone. For example, what if you just 3D touched on the home bar and hopped into control panel? To me, that is better utilization of that space. It's more of a consistent transition from older devices. So if you 3D touched the home bar and hopped into control panel, I think that would be a better implementation and demonstration of the power of this full display. I don't know, those are just my thoughts. Feel free to drop a comment down below with your ideas if you're on the iPhone 10 of how to better manage the control panel. Now, let's talk about notifications. They're still a nightmare, and I despise them. I just don't understand why a lot more people aren't kind of up in arms over this. It's something that I really am hesitant to continue to be on iOS because I miss stuff. It's all chronological. There's no important sorting or anything like that. And Android, you have things that kind of populate to the top. So phone calls, text messages, things that, you know, that are important to you get shifted up to the top and grouped. On iOS, that just is not the case. So if you ignore your notifications for a couple of days, you might as well just clear them all out because there's no way you're going to be able to sift through them all. That is just something that is very frustrating since my kind of move over to iOS, and it's probably something that is keeping a lot of people from jumping from Android to iOS. It's just a terrible experience, and I hate it. Now, moving right along, the camera. It's good, but they could do better. I mean, I'm not like blown away by the images that are coming off this thing. I'm just not. And for a minimum price of entry of $1,000, I think they should just blow your socks off. Really. And it just doesn't. The dynamic range is something that needs to be improved in the software on the camera app within the iPhone 10. That's my opinion. One thing that's still very frustrating is when you're shooting video, I still cannot make adjustments to resolution, frame rate within the camera app. So I have to jump out, go into settings, look for camera, and then make my formatting decision from there. That's stupid. Why is that even a thing? Like, who decided that? Like, why can I not click on 4K up in the top part of my video and make an adjustment to the frame rate and resolution to my video? You want to improve the experience for using the iPhone camera? Well, Apple, make that adjustment to where I can make changes to those settings while I'm in the camera app. All right, I'm done complaining. There's a ton of good about this device, and the one amazing thing about it is the battery life. It's nothing short of amazing considering the form factor and considering coming from the iPhone 7 Plus. I'm a little bit less at night when I go to bed than I was on the iPhone 7 Plus, but I still get through a full day, no problems, and I don't worry about battery life anymore. And that was a really big concern of mine because of the form factor. The battery is amazing, but the inclusion of wireless charging is a welcomed addition to iOS or the iPhone. Period. It's just a fantastic implementation of something that's been on the market for years. I was a big proponent of wireless charging since the Nexus 5, I believe. I just purchased a cheap wireless charging pad, put it on my desk at work, and I never had to worry about battery life then on Android. And the inclusion of wireless charging on the iPhone 10 and iPhone 8 Plus is a good thing. I think it's great. And Apple's ability to kind of open it up to the Qi standard is also awesome. I thought they were going to bring some proprietary wireless charging process or pad that you had to have, but they didn't. They went along with the standard. And that's great. All in all, it's a fantastic device and I really enjoy using it. So do I recommend it? That's hard to say. I really enjoy the experience. I love the hardware. It's a great display. The battery's awesome, but it is $1,000 for price of entry. With that, I cannot recommend this device because it costs way too much. It just costs too much. $1,000 for a 64 gigabyte version is crazy. It's crazy. I feel like a fool for having purchased this, but I'm happy that I did because I like it. Now, there are a couple of things that Apple could have done to make the $1,000 price of entry worth it. The base model should have had 128 gigabytes. So here I am with a $1,000 device that is 64 gigabytes in storage. That's not a problem for me because I don't really, store a whole lot of stuff on my device, but it is a big concern to a lot of people that have asked me about the iPhone 10. And then you tack on the price of AppleCare, another $200 because the price has changed with this device. That puts you up into the $1,500 range. And that is something I can't recommend because the experience in and of itself isn't enough to warrant that cost, in my opinion. I'm gonna go ahead and conclude this review, and I don't have anything to disclose because I purchased both of these devices with my own money. And if you like this video, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, you know what to do. Thank you for taking the time to watch. I'm Tomas, and I will catch you in the next one.